Forsythe Rockin' Pod 2019. We have an awesome guest with us right now, Mr. Brian Forsythe of the band KIXX, and also Rhino Bucket, a badass guitarist. And I am really excited for this, man. Thank you so much for your time, and thanks for being with us.
You're welcome.
Yeah, man. So just a little brief background on us, man. We're a clothing and lifestyle brand, so we basically focus on the apparel over there. But we wanted to start this BombCast as kind of like an educational platform for other creators. So like we're musicians too, and we noticed like a lot of our friends just kind of bowing out of the creative pursuit, if you will, early on without like actually, you know, having a platform like this to really give them maybe some guidance on how they can deepen themselves creatively or how they can further themselves along in whatever creative path they're doing. So was hoping just to talk to you, man, about like current state of the music business, how like you kind of got to where you were. Would love to hear about the early days and just anything like networking or creatively related to that type of mission, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Start with the early days, man. I mean, the whole LA scene, man. I mean, what was going down?
Well, actually, the early days, I was up in Maryland, and like the early days of like KIXX, or even before that.
Just when you started playing, man. Probably pre-KIXX, and then how you got into KIXX.
Well, I mean, I that was my goal was to just play music, and you know, I ended up I dropped out of high school a year early just to get on the road and start playing in a band.
Nice.
And which everybody thought was going to be a mistake, but it turned out to be.
It worked out, man. Yeah.
Right.
You know, it's like I don't need high school to play guitar.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just sort of jumped into it and just started playing with whoever I could play with, and I think the most important thing was to not give up. I mean, because early on, before I even got good, I was sort of stumbling around and trying to figure it out, and you know, and I wasn't one of those natural guitar players that just was like, boom, out of the box could play. I mean, it took a while and a lot of experience and a lot of mistakes and a lot of people like cringing, you know, and I just had to ignore it because I knew what I wanted, and I would just keep pushing forward and not let those things. In fact, I would actually use those things to motivate me even more.
Nice, man. Yes, it became a tool.
And like a story that goes all the way back to elementary school even. I think that's maybe where it clicked. But
Yeah.
I was fascinated with the violin for some reason.
Nice.
So I signed up for violin lessons at school, or taking the violin class. And I think the only reason I wanted to, because I wanted to see one up close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I didn't really want to play it, but I got this violin, and then I got into the class, and it turned out like all the other students could read music, and I couldn't. And I was like, oh, I was supposed to have already known how to read music. Now what am I going to do? So I actually quickly learned how to just catch it by ear. So I faked my way through this class, and at least I thought I was getting over, but the teacher knew I was faking it too.
Yeah.
So at the very last, like, at the end of the year, they took our little violin section, and we went over and we were rehearsing with the whole orchestra, and the teacher was working with like somebody in the back of the room, and I was sitting down front with the other violin players, just goofing off with my bow, making resin spots on my fretboard, like
Nice.
like primer spots. And the teacher, he looks down and sees me. I guess I distracted him, and he stops everything, and he makes me stand up, and he yells at me in front of the whole orchestra, tells me that I'm like the worst musician that he's ever had in his history of teaching.
Wow.
Okay.
And that's what motivated me to do this.
Nice, dude.
I mean, I took that. I remember leaving that class, and I just stood there and listened to him. And when I got done, some of the other students that I knew, you know, as we were leaving, they were going, he goes, man, like they couldn't believe that the teacher said that to me, and I go,
It's harsh.
and I just looked at them, and I go, yeah, I'll show him.
Yeah. Have you like sent him like an album or anything?
I don't even remember his name.
Just like a nice little fuck you in the email. Don't even remember his name. Well, it works, so thanks, guy. No, that's awesome, dude. Yeah, man. So I watched the YouTube video of KIXX in Baltimore, and because I didn't grow up listening to you guys, so I wanted to like go back through it. You guys are an amazing band, man. Like Steve Whiteman as a frontman is just amazing, dude. The way you play is like really amazing, man. Like your tone on the Telecaster is awesome, man. How so it said it took you a while to kind of get those guitar chops down, man. How was the process going through that? Did you have to practice like 8-10 hours a day?
Well, the good thing was I was obsessed with it.
Yeah, so that helped.
I mean, now, the older I get, the less patience I have for things. But back then, somehow, I'd latch onto something, and I would that's all I wanted to do. So luckily, through high school, junior high, high school, when all my friends, like on the weekends, they'd go out and they'd be drinking and partying and running around, I'd be at home. Like I had no interest in any of that junk, and I would just come straight home. Like I'd be at school, and whatever the latest album that I just bought, I couldn't wait to get home and put that record on and listen to it again.
Oh, yeah.
Totally,
and then
man.
I'd sit there next to my turntable with my guitar, picking the needle up and sticking it back, and picking it up and sticking it back, and learning a lick and this, and I just do that. I'd come home from school, go straight to my room, pick up my guitar, start like messing with songs, and then I have to go down to eat dinner, and then I go straight back up to my room until it was time to go to bed.
Absolutely,
and that's what I did, and it was, an average of 4 hours.
Nice, man. Yeah.
A night, at least.
Yeah, look at you a lot, man. That's awesome.
But I was also into art, and I would put just as much time into art back then, and at some point I had to choose between music or art, and I went with the music.
Yeah, were you a painter, like drawer?
Drawing, yeah.
Nice.
My dad was an artist. So.
Nice, man.
Okay.
That's awesome.
And my brothers.
Very cool. Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Like I ended up being the musician in the family.
Yeah. How was so? Did you audition to get into KIXX?
No, I was. I ran into Ronnie at a 7-Eleven one night.
Yeah.
It was weird because Ronnie and I were in local bands around the area, like right out of high school. And I used to, I played with this guy that owned a PA system, and he used to rent it out to Ronnie's band. So I would go with him and watch Ronnie play, and was like, oh wow, like Ronnie was like this rock star looking guy up there.
Yeah.
And so I kind of knew him, but not really knew, I met him, and we were mutual guitar players. And then at one point, the band Ronnie was playing with, he left.
Yeah.
And they had a auditioning for his spot in that band, and they were an established cover band. So I went out to audition for Ronnie's band part, and I was on the way back one night from some show. I forget where I was, but I ended up at a 7-Eleven late at night, and I was like heating a burrito up in a microwave.
Yeah.
And Ronnie comes up, and I guess he was getting snacks too, and he had heard that I was auditioning for his band, his old band, and he goes, man, you don't want to play with those guys. They're never going to get anywhere. They never want to rehearse, and they're playing the same old songs that they've been playing for years. He goes, I'm putting this band together with this guy named Donnie Purnell from this other big band in the area. And I had heard of Donnie's band. And Ronnie goes, we're looking for another guitar player. He goes, would you be interested in it? And I remember thinking, and I was standing there thinking, well, there's this one band that's already playing gigs. I could just jump in there and be working. Or I could start from scratch with these guys. And I'm like, well, I'll think about it.
Yeah.
So I went.
You on it?
So I went home, and the next day, the drummer at that time, the original drummer, he calls me up and he talked my ear off, and he talked me into at least trying it out. He goes, well, why don't we just get together and see what happens? And I went, okay. So they all came to I was still living at my parents' house.
Yeah.
So they all came there, and we went down the basement, And the first song we put together was Atomic Bombs from our first record.
Yeah, man.
And this was
Such a good song, dude.
And this was 1977, December 77 when that happened. So Ronnie, it was me, Ronnie, and Donnie were the originators of the band.
Yeah.
And the original drummer was named Donnie, but he didn't last.
And then it just went from there?
Yeah, and then we went through a couple singers until we found Steve. And then right after we got Steve, we got Jimmy on drums, and then that was the lineup.
Yeah. I had read a lot of stuff where a lot of people think Steve is like such an underrated frontman, dude. Would you agree with that sentiment? Like, he's like, just watching him live, it's amazing. I'm curious, like, your take on him.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because when we found him, he was a drummer.
Really?
And he was singing.
Oh, wow.
He was singing behind the drums, but he was doing like Zeppelin and all these songs. We were like, oh man, let's
bring you out, dude. Yeah.
So we got him. Like, we went up to one of his gigs, and when he went on break, we took him out to the car and we stuck a cassette in, and we go, hey, this is what we're doing. We're gonna get a record deal, and we talked him into joining our band, but he wasn't a front man.
Gotcha.
So I remember the first few gigs, he gets out there and he was just scared, at least like a deer in the headlights, standing on stage. So it took him a while to develop that frontman thing.
Yeah.
But I think it just came along from just relentlessly playing. We just played and played, especially back then.
For sure.
I mean, night after night after night after night. And,
that's awesome.
And finally, it finally clicked in with him. Well, the thing was with him, he was like a really funny guy, like a comedian.
Yeah.
Off stage, but then he'd get on stage and he'd just be this like scared guy up there. And at one point we were just goofing off. It was some off night, like a Tuesday night, and nobody was at the club. And he just started being funny on stage, and he just realized, oh wow, this could be part of the act.
Yeah.
So that became part of the
Dude,
act.
that actually makes a lot of sense, man, because that live in Baltimore performance where you guys open up with Atomic Bombs, Atomic Bombs, yeah. He has like kind of that like physical comedy thing going on. Not that I was like laughing at him, but like he definitely like moves in a comedic manner. So that makes a lot of sense.
I think one of his big influences was Steve Martin.
Yeah, man.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Because he looks like super tall. Is he like pretty like?
He's maybe an inch or
like
two
right
above me.
Oh, okay, nice. That's awesome, man.
I'm like the short guy.
Yeah. I gotta ask, man. Okay, so like out of all the shows that you've played, I mean, throughout the years, man. I mean, I like to ask this question, but I mean, is there one that just stands out to you that you just like, oh my God, I can't believe I get to fucking do this. That was amazing.
Oh, there's been a few of those.
I mean, I'm sure there's a few.
But there's one. It was after we reformed in 2003, and then we sort of did a bunch of like local stuff around Baltimore for a couple years. Like, it took a while. Like, we kept extending it, and then we finally signed with a booking agent, and our first outside of Baltimore show was Rocklahoma in 2008.
Oh wow, man.
And it was like 20,000 people, and there was this huge storm that blew through, and they had to shut everything down. It blew down the side stages, and then finally the weather let up, and we finally got to go on, and we go out there, and the rain had stopped, but then as soon as we got out there, the rain started coming again. But it was like this. It wasn't like a thunderstorm at that point. It was just a shower, like just showering down. But the people were there, and they stayed there. And it was our first like big concert like since we had reformed. It was magic. It was magical.
That's amazing, dude.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
And every time the lightning would flash, you'd see how far the crowd was.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was way as far as you could see.
That's awesome, dude. Does that just make you play even better, man? Do you feed off of like that energy?
Yeah, but but that's the thing with KIXX though. We came up through the club scene, so
totally.
It doesn't matter how many people are there. We're still going to play like that.
Right, absolutely.
But
man.
it does help. I mean, there is a magic to that.
Yeah. You can't write that. It's just unbelievable.
You have a super cool style, man. Your style on stage and obviously off stage too,
dude,
man.
you look great, man. I love the rings, everything. Can't miss it. We saw you yesterday at the pre-party. I was like, oh yeah, dude, that's Brian right there. You can't miss you, man.
What's your approach to your image, dude? I just like to ask that question since we're like a fashion brand. Like what like how did you put your look together, man?
Well, that was a learning experience too, but it was more like just sort of, well, I'm inspired by Keith Richards, obviously.
Totally, yeah.
But I always liked his thing. It was like, he's got it's like a sloppiness, but a well put together, but almost like he wasn't thinking too hard.
Yeah.
It just naturally happened like that, and that's kind of what I try to go for. But I do have a knack for it somehow.
Yeah.
Like I love shopping for clothes and looking on vintage sites and
Totally,
going to thrift stores, and I'll find like one thing that's cool, and I'll think, okay, I could probably do something with this, but I don't know. Like sometimes I'll hang something in my closet for like, it'll hang there for like 2 years before I figure out what to do with it. And then I'll see a pair of pants and I'll go, oh, that'll go with that.
Nice, dude.
That's it, man.
That's awesome.
And like when I try to get ready to go play or go out, or I just I sort of have to, I think I just sort of close my eyes and try to think of a vibe. I don't know, it just sort of happens.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's
You're carrying a great vibe, man.
Really great vibe.
Thank you.
So, I mean, I know we're kind of limited on time here, but so KIXX has a new record out, correct?
Well, so yeah, it's a remix of the Blow My Fuse.
Okay, got it.
The latest studio record is already 5 years old, which just blows my mind how fast time flies.
Dude, yeah.
But our last studio record was Rock Your Face Off, and that, I guess, was it 2012? I don't know, I'm losing track.
Nice.
But this Blow My Fuse one is the current, and that's a remix, and it's like a box set.
Very cool, man. That's
And,
awesome.
yeah, it was remixed by Bo Hill.
Okay, awesome, dude. Do you have like a solo project going on or anything, or is it anything outside of that?
Well, I was doing Rhino Bucket.
That's right. Yep.
I was doing that for years.
Yeah.
And that's sort of on hiatus right now, but that'll probably come back. I'm thinking George will get bored and want to do it again. But as far as like a side thing, I don't.
Yeah.
But I moved to Nashville because of the music scene. I mean, it was kind of dried up out in LA, and I get lumped in with the 80s thing a lot, which I don't feel like I'm an 80s guy. I'm more of a 70s guy, and I'm more into like my influences are Southern rock.
Nice, man.
And I thought Nashville just fits me better.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I'm
man.
thinking if some side thing is going to come along, it's going to come along here. So
Definitely. Yeah, that's awesome,
That's
man.
awesome to hear.
Are you how long have you been in Nashville for then?
Since March.
Nice, dude.
not
Welcome.
Welcome, man.
Dude, that's awesome.
Oh,
We've only been a company since the end of February, so we're basically like
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
starting our journey his. Well, that's awesome. Well, welcome to town, man. We've been here. He's been here over a decade. I've been here over 8 years, man. I wouldn't want to live
Great
anywhere
place,
else, man.
man, yeah.
So I hope you're
It's-
loving it.
Yeah, I love it. It's so relaxed.
That's awesome.
Relax,
man.
chill. And the people, the music community, man, it's perfect, dude. No other place like Nashville.
Yeah, there's this little dive bar 5 minutes from my house called D's Country Cocktail Lounge. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Yeah, I have heard of that, man.
Tiny little place. And
Is it awesome?
Kenny Vaughn, I don't know if you know who Kenny Vaughn is. He plays there every Tuesday night.
I do.
So
have heard
I
of it,
venture out, I'll go watch, and it's just so cool to just go see somebody that great just right down the street.
It's amazing, man. Yeah.
That's it.
And that's like the Nashville norm, dude. You
Yeah.
see it
Yeah.
everywhere. Yeah. That's very cool, man. Well, again, dude, we really appreciate your time, man. This has been a real
Thank
treat.
you so
This is
much,
awesome.
man.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.